Every Bond movie starts with a tale, and this one will move you to tears. It centers on a little blind boy living in a calm suburban area. Named Liam discovered that he was confined to a dark realm with no company but loneliness. But when an abandoned dog entered his life, neither of them could have imagined how their relationship would transform everything. Is the story of an unshakable bond formed under hardship that will exceed all expectations. Despite his upbeat attitude, Liam was probably blind from birth, and his environment was colored with various tones and textures. Life had not been kind to him. Other kids would frequently shun him since they didn't know how to relate to him, which left him alone. Mother Sarah, a single parent, tried her hardest to foster his independence, but her heart ached every time. One gloomy afternoon, she happened to see him sitting by himself, humming to fill the solitude. However, fate stepped in, and Liam and Sarah heard a feeble moan coming from a neighboring alley as they were making their way home from the grocery shop. Curious Liam pulled at his mother's fingers, nearly drowned out by the rain. "What's?" Sarah hesitated as he queried. "That sound, Mom," with wide, curious eyes. However, when the sound was followed, a small, malnourished puppy with fur was found trembling beneath a piece of cardboard. It was difficult to determine its hue. Its eyes were filled with a mixture of terror and desperation, and its ribs were apparent through its thin coat. Liam murmured, his voice shaking with both excitement and fear. "Can we help him?" Sarah sighed, aware of the difficulties of adopting a stray, but she couldn't keep from saying, "No, we'll try," she added. Liam gently brought the puppy home, bathed it, fed it, and wrapped it in a warm blanket. Knelt next to it and ran his tiny hands over its weak body, whispering, "I'll call you Scout," while the dog licked. Unbeknownst to them, the first spark of trust was cautiously placed in his hand. A fortuitous meeting marked the start of a voyage that would test their combined bravery and fortitude. Together, they would overcome obstacles neither of them could have predicted, demonstrating that even the weakest souls can overcome them. The first few days with Scout were hectic for Liam and his mother Sarah, but they are stronger when they stand together. The weak puppy needed ongoing care because it was hardly able to raise its head. While Liam never left the dog's side and never took his hands off of it, Sarah spent hours giving Scout little amounts of warm broth. Liam's fingertips explored every inch of Scout's fur, including the puppy's ribs ridges and the uneven areas of its. These touching interactions created the delicate warmth of its heartbeat and its fur. An implicit bond between the youngster and the animal Scout, who was first cautious of every. In Liam's presence, the dog's noises and activity gradually relaxed, and it would nuzzle. Sarah observed their link as she pressed against Liam's hand whenever he reached out, seemingly realizing that the boy too needed comfort. Grow with a sense of both wonder and fear, Liam had always been a sympathetic youngster, but the way he appeared. Liam said one night, "Do you think he was abandoned?" Because Scout's ability to sense what he needed was exceptional. Scout snuggled up at his feet, and Sarah was hesitant to put too much strain on her son. Perhaps she said it quietly, but he's among us now, and with the hardness of the world. As the days stretched into weeks, Scout's change was astounding, and we'll make sure he's secure. Living with Scout, despite being blind, Liam's patchy fur became silky and lustrous, and his energy returned in joyful, enthusiastic bursts. Among the many duties involved with Scout care, he learned how to fill the water ball by feeling and throwing Scout's favorite toy, a tiny plush ball in the backyard, was always returned. One sunny afternoon, Sarah gently persisted in pushing it into Liam's hands. Observed from the porch as Scout licked his face, a sound she hadn't heard in a long time, and Liam sat on the grass laughing. Liam's laughter had been muted for years, almost as if he was afraid, attracting attention to himself. But now it was loud and unrestrained, reverberating around the yard. Yet Scout's life wasn't. Without obstacles, Liam's eyesight made some things challenging, and Scout still. Young and inexperienced, they frequently caused small-scale mayhem around the house. There were bowls spilled, shoes chewed up, and, several times, Scouts have unintentionally tripped over chairs in their excitement. One day, Liam and Sarah took. It was their first time going out together, and Liam gripped Scout's leash tight as Sarah took her for a walk in the local park. Led them, Scout was enthusiastic and inquisitive, investigating every patch of grass and barking at squirrels that passed by. But when a group of kids approached them that day, something unexpected happened, and the lively dog piqued their interest. One of the kids asked, glancing at Sarah, "Can we pet him?" Sarah looked at Liam. Lady grinned as the kids gathered around her and nodded enthusiastically. Scout's queries shifted to Liam, who innocently inquired, "How can you care for a dog if you can't see one of them?" Without hesitation, he responded, "I may not see Scout the way you do, but I feel him. He feels me too," as his hands softly caressed the dog's back. "We can relate to one another." After expressing satisfaction with his response, the kids played with Scout for a few minutes. For a while, Liam wasn't the unique lad. Instead, he was just another child with a dog, and Sarah's heart grew with pleasure and thankfulness as she observed her son, Liam, laughing and interacting with his classmates that night as they headed home. Whispered quietly to Scout, "Who knows that I don't give a damn because you're my best buddy." Sarah heard and felt a pit in her stomach as someone said, "You're not just a dog. You're my hero." Rise in her throat. Scout had not only made their lives happier, but he had also given Liam a sense of direction and confidence she hadn't seen since he was a toddler. But Liam and Scout's relationship was going to be put to the test. They were unable to predict that as Scout became stronger, his instincts, particularly his protective nature, would start to show. Began at the park with a small object barking at the mail carrier between Liam and an excessively excited dog. One afternoon while Sarah was in the room, she noted the change and pondered whether Scout could sense Liam's fragility. A loud disturbance broke out in the kitchen while Liam and Scout were playing in the outside. When Sarah hurried outside, she saw Scout barking wildly at the gate, his tail high on one side and his body tense. A big dog was pacing and growling on the gate side. "Liam, please stay back," Sarah yelled, trembling as she reached for a broom to remove the stray dog. But before she could do so, Scout accomplished something amazing. Placed himself between Liam and the fence and began barking fiercely, something Sarah had never saw the stray dog do before. Scout glanced to Liam as Sarah backed away slowly and vanished into the bushes, dropping the broom with shaking hands. And, seemingly to calm him, nuzzled his leg. "What happened, Mom?" Liam inquired, sensing. Sarah's voice was heavy with strain as she continued, "Scout protected you." Feeling, he shielded us all from that day on. Sarah came to understand that Scout was more than just a pet. He was a guardian. And although Liam couldn't see Scout's bravery, he could sense it in every. With each lick of his hand and wag of his tail, the encounter with the stray dog was a watershed moment for Scout, and as Liam's bond Scout's protective instincts increased, Liam started to depend on him in ways he hadn't previously at home. Scout appeared to be able to tell when Liam needed help moving furniture, or when Liam dropped something, Scout would pick it up and gently place it in his favorite chair. As they sat on the couch one evening, Liam exclaimed, "I think Scout is like a superhero." Sarah grinned as she watched her son scrape the couch. "He always understands what I need." Behind Scout's back, Liam is undoubtedly special, but you've also put a lot of effort into caring for him as your partner. This collaboration was quickly put to the test when Sarah chose to take Liam and Scout to a nearby training one weekend. She believed that a service dog event may be an excellent way for Liam to meet new people and for Scouts to learn new skills. The event, which included other kids with comparable difficulties, took place in a big park full with people and dogs of different sizes. As instructors providing examples as they came, Liam gripped on too. Despite the overwhelming noise and commotion, Scout stayed composed while holding Sarah's arm with his leash. As he took in the surroundings, his ears pricked up, and a trainer came over. Emily, a happy woman, crouched down too. Emily said, "This must be Scout." She held out her palm for the dog to sniff, saying, "He's gorgeous. Are you here to see him?" Liam hesitated before nodding, saying, "He's already amazing, but maybe he can learn more." Emily laughed. "So let's start with some easy exercises to see what he can do." The first ones were simple, obeying simple instructions, marching in a straight path, and maintaining composure in a throng. Scout performed to Liam's delight in many ways, but when it came to more complex jobs like navigating, when Scout hesitated to overcome hurdles or retrieve particular things, he would look to Liam for direction, and when none arrived, he appeared uncertain. "It's all right, buddy." While down next to Scout, Liam whispered softly, "We'll figure it out together." Emily watched them engage with a considered expression. "Scout has great potential, but he needs more instruction to know how to lead you. You will need to improve your communication skills with Liam." His shoulders drooped a little, but he replied, "I'd like to give it a try." Over the following few weeks, Liam and Scout started going to Emily's training classes on a regular basis. Instruction. Both of them found these sessions difficult, and Scout had to learn to block out outside distractions and concentrate only on Liam's. Scout experienced times of frustration as Liam needed to gain confidence in providing precise directions. Grew sidetracked at times, and Liam found it difficult to express his requirements. But there were also victories, such as the day Scout said, "You're amazing," after successfully guiding Liam through a labyrinth of cones without running into any of them. Scout threw his arms around the dog and licked Liam's while wildly waving his tail. Face in response. Even while they made progress, Scout was still struggling with one task: escorting Liam through a bustling. At crossroads, Scout was overcome by the noises of passing cars and honking horns, which caused him to freeze. Emily clarified that it would take time. She informed them, adding that this was a typical problem for young canines, particularly those who had experienced stress. "Just keep establishing that trust." One afternoon following a particularly trying time, "Liam, you're doing everything correctly." Scout put his chin on Liam's head as he sat on the porch stairs. Liam's knee, his eyes worried. "Do you think I'm asking too much of you?" Liam softly muttered his fingers. Sarah overheard and knelt next to Scout, tracing the contour of her ears, thinking that perhaps he would be content to just be a normal dog. Liam Scout, his son, views this as his mission rather than a burden. Liam nodded and wiped his eyes, saying, "I won't give up on him." The following morning, he brought in, unexpectedly, while Liam and Scout were rehearsing in the backyard. There was a knock. When Sarah opened the door, she saw a man in a uniform who identified himself as local police officer Daniels. "I have been following Scout's narrative," Officer Daniels, a police officer who had been informed of Scout's progress by Emily, outlined how he has the potential to be a fantastic working dog and asked if I could assist with his training. Liam was excited about the prospect of Scout's receiving instruction from an actual police officer over the course of the following few weeks. Officer Daniels introduced Scouts to novel activities including tracking messages and reacting to emergency directives. These sessions not only enhanced Scout's abilities and gave Liam more self-assurance. He started to view himself as an active participant rather than a burden. One day, during a tracking practice, Scout engaged a participant in his training. Officer Daniels had concealed an item in the park, and Scout was entrusted with locating it. Liam had the tightening the leash and ordering it to be found. Scout sniffed the ground with his tail. Following the middle trail, he began to wag, but after a few minutes, he stopped and let out a bark. With his nose pointing to a tiny satchel hidden beneath some leaves, Scout Liam applauded and threw his arms around the dog. Officer Daniels responded, "That's not just talent," grinning and nodding in agreement. "You can't teach that link." Yet as the Scout's training went on, new difficulties appeared. Liam and Scout's relationship will soon be put to the test in unexpected ways, and their journey together. Liam and Scout's bonds training together had made them stronger, but the testing was far from over. Sarah planned to take them all to the city one cool autumn morning as a rare adventure for their little getaway. City visit. Liam was both excited and scared by the prospect of relatives, and the city was a clamor of bustle and commotion, which stood in sharp contrast to their peaceful suburban neighborhood. Scout had also never experienced such. In a busy setting, Liam questioned, "Are you sure about this, Mom?" in an anxious tone as he cut. Sarah crouched next to him and put a comforting hand on his shoulder, attaching Scout's leash to his harness. "You've been working so hard. This is your moment to show off your progress with Scout. I'll be right here if you need me on the drive into the city." It was uneventful at first. Liam sat calmly in the car's rear seat, holding Scout's leash with one hand while the other. Scout leaned into Liam's touch while perched on the dog's head, his steady presence a source of solace. But the city's lack of it struck them like a tidal wave when they got there. People were talking loudly, Automobiles were honking, and a siren in the distance added to. During the confusion, Liam automatically gripped Scout's leash with his other hand. "Remember, Scout is here," Sarah murmured quietly as he reached for Sarah's steady breaths. Scout's posture was attentive yet composed, and his ears flicked at the sound to assist you. Under Sarah's direction, they started negotiating the congested sidewalks, and Liam attempted to concentrate on Scout's steady steps. Everything appeared to be going okay until they arrived at a busy crossroads, when he trusted the dog to lead him past obstacles. Scout froze in place as the crossing signal turned red and the sound of roaring engines filled the air. "Looked at the traffic, but Scout," Liam said in a tremulous voice. "It's okay, we've understood this." But Scout remained motionless because the commotion was too loud, and his impulses to keep Liam safe conflicted with his fear of. Sarah calmly led them across the street in the tumultuous situation, but Scout paused after they were. Liam was securely on the other side, crouching next to Scout and shaking you with his hands. He stroked the dog's fur and whispered, "It's okay, I understand. You were scared, weren't you?" As if to make amends for chilling Sarah, Scout nuzzled Liam's hand out of fear. "Observe the exchange with a mixture of pride and worry, and you both did a great job handling that," she remarked. "It's all right to feel frightened, but what's important is that you persisted." Their next stop was a sizable park tucked away in the center of the rustle of trees in the city drowned out the sound of traffic, making it quieter. Liam and Scout rehearsed their training routines while walking in straight lines amid the sounds of surrounding youngsters playing. Scout appeared to regain his confidence after pausing when instructed and dodging obstacles, his tail wagging as he finished every task. Liam also started to unwind, his previous nervousness vanishing as he concentrated on their routine. But as they were about to finish, an unforeseen obstacle appeared. A small group of adolescents were playing frisbee close by, and one of the boys, who was roughly Liam's age, could be heard laughing throughout the park. Threw the frisbee too hard by accident, and it flew through the air, landing only a few feet away from Scout the dog's ears. Scout jumped up and ran toward the frisbee before Liam could respond. Instincts as a playful puppy, assuming Scout's place without Liam calling out in a panic. Scout reached the frisbee and scooped it up as he staggered forward, almost losing his hold on the leash. Attacked by dog, proudly waving his tail, but as he turned back to face Liam, he abruptly halted his tight body as a big dog approached and assumed an aggressive attitude. As the other dog snarled and bared its teeth, Scout Liam yelled, his voice cracking. With her heart racing as she watched the scenario play out, Sarah hurried to Liam's side. But before she could do anything remarkable transpired, Scout walked in front of the snarling dog and placed the frisbee on the ground rather than cowering or barking back. Ground is a sign of surrender. Then he lowered his tail slowly and methodically into a sitting position. The other dog paused, its growl diminishing, and sniffed the frisbee while wagging gently. After its aggression subsided, Scout took up the frisbee once more and trotted back to Liam. Scout, Liam whispered, "You did it," with tears in his eyes, down his cheeks, as he gave the dog a strong hug. "You're my hero." The incident had a profound effect on Sarah and Liam. Scout's actions demonstrated not only bravery, but also a superb grasp of how to defuse a potentially deadly situation. Circumstances, it was evident that their relationship had grown to a new level, one based on. As they made their way back to the car, Sarah put a hand on theirs, and they trusted one another. Liam grinned and said, "You two have come so far, and I'm so proud of you." Heart bursting with appreciation. The ride home was more peaceful than normal, and we couldn't have done it without one another. Scout lay in the back seat with his head on Liam's lap and his eyes closed, the day's events still fresh in their memories. With his eyes partly closed in satisfaction, Liam reenacted the event in the park, casually tracing patterns in Scout's fur. In a quiet voice, Mom, Liam asked, "Do you think Scout would ever stop being afraid of noisy places like the city?" Sarah said as she looked at him in the rearview mirror. "I believe Scout's like you, Liam. He simply needs more practice and patience." Liam thought about what she had said, feeling a glimmer of resolve. "I'll assist him," he confidently stated. "We'll work it out together." Over the course of the following few weeks, Liam committed himself to the Scouts training with fresh focus, practicing their In the afternoons, Sarah would build up hurdles in the backyard for instructions to navigate, simulating real-world difficulties. They gradually made their way toward busier locations, such as a nearby park with greater foot activity or the peaceful side of a retail mall. Scout was initially cautious to listen to new sights and sounds, would twitch uneasily, and he frequently turned to Liam for comfort. But every time they encountered a new obstacle, he was led by a steady hand and a soothing voice, and their relationship grew stronger with each little triumph and minutes spent together. Of trust, Sarah recommended that they go to the neighborhood farmers market one afternoon. It was a lively, busy area with plenty of colorful stalls, the smell of fresh produce, and the sound of people talking. Scout, it was an additional step in conquering his phobias. This will be our greatest obstacle, but Liam stated as he fastened Scout's leash to his harness. But I'm confident we can pull it off because the market was bustling with bustle with traders shouting. The market. A street musician performed a joyful tune on his guitar, while their little kids ran between vendors, laughing. Scout's body tensed as he took in the strange surroundings, his ears twitching. Through the leash, Liam was able to sense the dog's nervousness and put a gentle hand on Scout's head. "You're okay, buddy," he said. They strolled slowly around the market, swerving between vendors and stopping frequently to say gently, "I'm right here." Liam remained focused on Scout, allowing her to adjust. His voice was a continual source of assurance, progressively increased Scout's self-assurance, causing his tail to wag a little as he investigated the busy scene. But a loud crash that reverberated throughout the market after a vendor unintentionally stopped them in their tracks. Scout halted, his body rigid, and his ears perked up as a cascade of apples rolled across the ground over a stack of crates. Scout, Liam crouched next to him, remarked, "It's okay, it's just some." Scout looked at Liam with inquisitive dark eyes, but Apples saw nothing to be concerned about. He moved forward cautiously, sniffing at one of the apples for direction. "My brave child," Liam grinned and reached to scratch behind Scout's ears. A local seller, an elderly man with gentle eyes and a wide-brimmed hat, noticed their encounter. "Your dogs have a lot of heart," he added, smiling, as he approached them and held them an apple. "Animals don't have it easy." To maintain composure in such a situation, Liam took the apple and extended it to the Scout, who took a whiff before gently. "He's learning as he puts it in his mouth," Liam continued, and his pride was clear in his voice. As they made their way through the marketplace, Liam saw that others were observing them and had mixed looks of appreciation. With interest, some went over to give Scout a compliment or inquire about their training, while others just grinned as. For Liam, passing past served as a reminder of their progress and the distance they still had to travel. At home, Liam and Scout got into their daily routine. Liam read a book while lying on the floor of the living room. Sarah watched them from the doorway while Scout slept next to him, her heart bursting with pride, and she couldn't help but marvel at the changes she had seen in the last 6 months. "You've changed so much, Liam," she remarked, shattering the comfortable quiet. As a person and as a Scout trainer, you discovered a strength I had no idea you had. Liam smiling shyly. "And it's because of Scout that he makes me want to improve." Sarah knelt next to them, placing her hand on Liam's shoulder. "You've given each other something precious." Never forget that Liam felt a great feeling of gratitude as he caressed Scout's fur. In addition to serving as his guide, the dog was also his confidant, comrade, and source of. Together, they had shown courage in overcoming obstacles that had previously seemed impossible, and each victory brought. "Tomorrow," Liam stated in a hushed voice, "we're getting closer to our ultimate goal. Compared to everyone else, Sarah, we're going to do something new and significant." Raised an eyebrow, her eyes glimmering with curiosity. "What are you thinking of?" "Transit in the downtown area." Liam's face lit up with a smile that was a mixture of resolve and delight. As you can see, Liam woke up earlier than normal the following morning with excitement in the air. Through him, they would take on their most difficult task to date, traversing the downtown transit station. Liam had always avoided the area because it was a tumultuous maze of rushing commuters and train announcements, but he was aware of this step was essential to his desire to become truly independent with Scout by his side. "Are you certain of this?" Liam Sarah inquired as she assisted him in setting up the station, which even those without difficulties may find overwhelming. Liam nodded, his mouth agape. Determination, Scout, if we can do this, we can manage anything. Sarah let out a mixture of sighs as he waited by the door, his tail wagging and his eyes shining. Her smile showed pride and concern. But it's well, just remember to take things gradually and have faith in one another. During the peaceful journey to the station, Liam concentrated on the steady sound of Scout's breathing, which he recalled. Scout was prepared for this because of everything they had done, including the orders, trust, and bond they had formed. When they got to the station, the roar of the approaching trains was as frightening as Liam had thought it would be, reverberated throughout the enormous hall, blending with the noise of footfall and hushed voices, announcements. Scout's ears twitched uneasily, his tail drooping slightly as they spoke loudly over the intercom, their words lost in the din. He observed the confusion and remarked, "You have this friend," Liam said, holding onto the leash. "Just stick with me," they began. Scout hesitated as she moved carefully through the crowd, Sarah following closely behind her. Liam could sense the strain in the dog's body as he cautiously maneuvered him past obstacles at first. He spoke quietly, trying to seem calm, and touched Good Boy Scout. "You're doing fantastic." Their progress was consistent, but it was difficult to concentrate at one time due to the station's intensity and noise. Scout froze when a train struck the platform with a loud scream. Liam knelt next to him, his body shaking, his heart pounding. "It's all right, Scout. We'll take a break," he said in a whisper while petting the dog's fur. They went to a more peaceful area of the station where Scout could. Liam struggled to recover his breath since this was more difficult than he had anticipated. And for a brief minute, doubt began to creep in. Sarah put a gentle hand on his shoulder and said, "You don't have to do this all at once. It's okay to take it one step at a time, a moment." But Liam shook his head, his resolve burning in his breast. "No, we can accomplish this. I'm sure we can." After a few minutes, they made another attempt. This time Scout appeared calmer, his ears turning as he adapted to the surroundings. Liam concentrated on the instructions directing Scout through the busy station with all the assurance he could summon. But their greatest challenge came when they arrived at the platform. The noise of trains racing by amid the crowds created a hectic and overpowering environment for Scouts. Looked back at Liam and paused at the edge, his posture tight. "You can do this," Liam replied firmly, giving the leash a. Scout took a tentative step forward, then another one with a soft tug that said, "I believe in you." When they arrived at the specified waiting area, Liam exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he had taken because his trust in him had overcome his dread. Area of waiting. "That's my boy," he exclaimed, scratching behind Scout's ears, and we succeeded. The feeling of victory was fleeting because as they were waiting, a man rushed by with his bag swinging furiously, and it struck. To his surprise, the dog backed away from his eyes and let out a yelp. The man was so terrified that he failed to spot Scout Liam vanishing into the crowd without a second glance. As Scout attempted to back away, he felt the leash tug tow, and he cried out, "It's okay, buddy, I'm here," with a hint of panic in his voice. Liam's heart fell when he understood the setback they had worked so hard to achieve, but Scout's fear had taken grip, and he refused to move. Difficult to boost Scout's self-esteem, and now it seemed like they were starting over. Sarah entered, her voice calm, but Liam nodded. "I need to feel safe again, so please give him a moment." "I apologize, Scout. I should have been prepared for it." I'm crouching next to him and talking to him in calming tones. Scout's shaking subsided, and he cautiously nuzzled Liam's fingers. "I can assure you that he is secure now." Bittersweet reminder of the deep bond they had as well as how brittle progress may be. Liam was still feeling defeated as they made their way back to the car, but Sarah, the optimist, gave words of encouragement. "Consider how far you've gone, Liam. This is just one setback. Every obstacle is a chance to improve." Liam nodded on the street, his resolve rekindling in his breast. "What, try again," he remarked in a firm voice. "Scout, and I don't give up the ride home from tomorrow." Liam sat in the back seat and stroked Scout's head with his fingers, but the transit station was heavier than he had expected. Scout's earlier reluctance and worry were replayed in his head as he lazily traced the contour of the harness strap. Moment that eroded Liam's sense of pride. Scout snuggled into his contact and quietly reassured him that. Sarah remarked softly from the driver's seat, "I barely noticed you're quiet." But as I pressed Liam, he moaned and sagged a little. "I thought we were ready. I believed we could pull it off." Sarah looked at him in the rearview mirror, her face gentle. Liam, you're doing something amazing, and setbacks are normal. Progress isn't always a straight line." I am aware that Liam's words were hardly audible above a whisper, but it's difficult not to feel like I let him down. Scout nuzzled Liam's fingers and uttered a low voice as though she could sense his distress. Soothing whine, Liam grinned subtly and rubbed the dog's ears. "Thank you, friend." When they arrived home, Sarah advised that they use the evening to unwind and rest. She strongly stated that neither of you needed to train today. Liam nodded, but as the sun sank beyond the horizon, he still felt like a failure. Liam found himself sitting on the porch with Scout at his feet while he painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. Scout, Liam started his speech as the sound of crickets chirping rhythmically filled the air, providing a calming background to his thoughts. "Mom, you're right. We've gone a long way. You're steady yet thoughtful. A session of training. Remember how you used to stress out if you even came close to the crosswalk? Now, observe how effectively we handle congested stations." Liam chuckled quietly as the Scout cocked his head and seemed to listen with his expressive eyes, feeling a glimmer of warmth in his chest. And the next morning, "Sarah, we're not giving up on one another." She mentioned at breakfast that perhaps we might shift our focus a little, which shocked Liam with the thought I was having. Liam scowled for a time at something different, such as the therapy. Sarah mentioned that the Service Animal Center downtown hosts sessions where dogs and trainers can. Scouts may find that practicing in safe settings helps them regain their confidence without the stress of a. Liam halted at the pack station, his mind racing with questions. "Do you believe that?" Sarah put a hand on his shoulder and said, "What we need is another training program." After some consideration, Liam agreed that it wasn't about further training, but rather about providing a secure environment for you two to develop together. And they made an appointment for the next day. When they got to the center, they were welcomed by a tall woman with a natural grin and a knack for putting people at ease right away. CLA was an instructor. "Scout and Liam are right," she murmured, kneeling to pet him. Scout warily sniffed her palm before wagging his tail. With a tinge of pride returning to his voice, Liam added, "You've got a good boy here. I can tell, thanks." And the session started. Walking in a figure 8, practicing stops and starts and basic movements. Scout did well negotiating little hurdles, his confidence appearing to be reinforced by the composed and surroundings with every order that Liam was able to execute. He felt a weight being lifted off his shoulders. Halfway through the lesson, Claire presented a new task that required Scout to navigate a fictitious street with crosswalks, traffic noises, and Liam nodded and gripped as she explained that passers-by. "This will simulate the types of circumstances you'll see in the real world." Scout paused at the first crosswalk, but his leash was taut, and we were ready. Liam knelt next to him and spoke in a soothing, quiet voice while his ears flickered uneasily at the sound of artificial traffic. "As before, buddy, you've got this." After a short while, Scout moved forward, his steps hesitant, but with great care, they safely crossed the street, and Liam felt proud. "That's my boy," he said, scratching behind Scout's back. "You're great." CLA applauded from the sidelines, and her support was contagious. "You two make a fantastic team. Keep it up." By the end of the session, Scout and Liam had addressed every challenge with increasing self-assurance. CLA smiled as she walked up to them and gave Liam a small certificate. "This is merely a little memento to acknowledge your progress today. You should be proud of yourself." Liam accepted the award with a smile on his face. As they left the center, Liam felt rejuvenated. His face said, "Thank you, this means a lot." Feeling of hope after the failure of the day before had subsided, and the understanding that advancement was a journey had taken its place. Scout, not a destination, trotted next to him, wagging his tail as though to indicate that they had this. That night, Liam sat with. Scout was sitting on the porch as usual. The stars were twinkling overhead, and the calming sound of the market outside. "Scout," Liam remarked, "we're going to arrive tonight." petting the dog's fur and taking one step at a time. At one point, Scout leaned into him and let out a happy sigh. Together, Liam and Scout's friendship grew stronger as they watched the night unfold. And the following week, they established a routine of. Scout gained little successes from daily training sessions at the therapy center, such as stopping at. Liam found himself growing at intersections without hesitation, despite distractions like loud honks or barking dogs. One afternoon, Claire became more assured in his position as a handler after learning that his cool head was essential to directing Scout. Came up to them as they were finishing up a session, Liam, and remarked in a kind but sincerely, "After seeing your development, I believe it's time to provide a real-world challenge, Liam." Tense a little as his thoughts returned to the hectic subway station. What type of difficulty? Claire clarified that there is an outdoor market downtown that is crowded but manageable with lots of regulated areas. It's ideal for you and Scout to put what you've learned into practice. I'll be close by in case. Liam paused and looked at Scout. The dog that was sitting by his side is expressive. Do you believe we're ready? CLA grinned at you with trust-filled eyes. And Scout have made great progress, so I'm confident you can manage it. Later that night, Liam gave Sarah the plan and she added in a worried tone, "That's a big step, I know, outside the market." Side-stroking Scout's fur, Liam retorted, "I guess we're ready, it's time to push ourselves." The following morning, when the market was teeming with activity and the air was scented with a blend of fresh vendors selling roasted coffee and bread seasonings cried out to their wares and families. Liam tightened his hold on Scout's harness as they walked among the stalls, their laughter mingling with the crowd's conversation. With her voice firm, CLA encouraged him to take things one stride at a time as her other hand rested on his white cane and she took long breaths. Liam nodded and straightened his shoulders so that the Scout could lead the way as they entered the crowd. As he swung shopping bags at knee level, the dog's ears flicked in a precise kind of precision. With kids running around and the occasional bike whizzing by, Liam concentrated on his breathing and trusted Scout. As they came to a stop at a corner where two roads met, Scout wagged his tail and Liam said, "Good boy," to guide him, evidently happy with his performance. And for a while, everything went without a hitch. Enthusiastically welcomed them. And after passing by and praising Scout's behavior, Liam felt his initial reservations vanished as his sense of pride grew. But then something unexpected occurred, a sudden ruckus. Liam stiffened his muscles as a child's voice cried out next to one of the stalls, followed by the sound of produce crates smashing. His hands tightening on Scout's harness, he questioned in a worried, harsh voice, "What's going on?" Liam felt a little hand grip his arm before CLA could react, so he asked for aid. Liam turned to face the child as his voice begged, shaking with terror. His heart was pounding. "What's wrong, my sister?" "Liam." The boy sobbed, and Liam's thoughts raced with questions about her identity. "She is blind like you, and she lost her grip on my hand, leaving me unable to locate her." He lowered his voice and begged Emma to calm down. Emma sniffed and whispered, putting a comforting hand on the boy's shoulder. Liam crouched down and said, "We'll find her okay. Stay close to me." Looked to CLA, who had positioned herself next to him. "Could you notify the vendors and inquire as to whether anyone had seen her?" CLA agreed and hurried, leaving Scout and Liam to act while Liam fixed Scout's leash and Scout located Emma. Scout sniffed the air and wiggled his tail as he gave the order in a calm but eager voice. Without hesitation, the dog started to weave through the crowd as he detected the strange scent. With a purpose, Liam trailed the boy in the market, clinging onto his arm. Appeared louder now, with each sound amplified by the situation's intensity. Sellers yelled out in bewilderment, and the sound of rushing feet filled the room as Liam concentrated on Scout, believing the dogs. Scout stopped abruptly, his ears perking up, and he gave a piercing yelp. Liam leaned down and put his palm on Scout's head, whispering, "Good boy," as he gently tugged on the harness. "Emma," the boy yelled, escaping Liam's hold and charging ahead of him. Heard a tremulous but distinct voice reply. Tommy. Scout led Liam forward. Emma clutched to Tommy fiercely, her little body trembling, till he felt the boy release his arm to embrace her. Tommy responded, "It's okay," in a gentle voice, but she was afraid and her voice was hardly heard. Liam knelt next to them, his hand grazing the firm I discovered to assist him. He said softly, "Are you okay, Emma?" And she nodded her head. "Steadier now, thanks to CLA, who showed up a short while later." Her face flushed, but she was happy that I had told the sellers. Scout and Liam. They will now assist in watching over the children. Liam grinned as he stood with Scout at his side. "Well done, buddy." As they walked out of the market, Tommy turned to Liam and remarked, "You and Scout are amazing." He scratched behind the dog's ears. He grinned that evening and added, "Thank you for helping us." Liam's chest SW with pride. "Scout and I make a pretty good team." Liam thought back on the day we did it, Scout, as they sat on the porch. He said, his voice full of appreciation, "We made a difference," Scout said, waving his tail. Into Liam's side while the stars were shining overhead, the market incident made a deep impression on Liam for the first time. He felt genuinely capable at that point. Not only as he adjusted to his blindness, but also as Scout, who was always alert, seemed to share his ability to help others. Claire's newfound self-assurance and their growing relationship with each shared event the following week added a new component to their training. Advanced exercises that foster trust between you and Scout. "Strong team," she remarked in a supportive tone, "but we're going to strengthen that bond even more today." Complex scenarios were used in the drills to test Scout's response skills and Liam's faith in her. Liam had to navigate a virtual environment in one configuration that exposed him to unanticipated events, crossing with a lot of unanticipated distractions, such as loud noises, shifting items, and strangers' spoken cues. It was Scout's responsibility to put Liam's safety first and disregard all outside distractions. "Are you ready?" Liam inquired. As they started, Liam felt his hand on the dog's harness as Scout gave a gentle yelp and wagging his tail in approval. An audio recording intended to replicate the sound of honking horns and rushing footfall filled the air as the heartbeat accelerated. Liam inhaled deeply, trusting Scout to lead the way at a dangerous crossroads. Scout hesitantly stepped forward as Liam ordered, holding on to the harness tightly. When a loud screech reverberated across the training area, Liam paused, tensed, and maintained his position by depending on Scout's. After a little pause, the dog's instincts continued to brilliantly guide Liam. "Good kid," Liam mumbled with pride around a barrier that had been put in their way. Welling up inside of him midway through the workout, a volunteer posing as a pedestrian presented a new obstacle. Scout Liam heard the person calling out their voice light as they came toward them with a reward to divert their attention. Playfully, Scout's ears pricked up and said, "Hey buddy, want a snack for a little while?" His tail waggled before he refocused and returned his gaze to Liam and Scout. Liam's voice was full of encouragement as he resumed his journey. "Stay with me." When they got to the end of the simulated crossing, CLA gave a big smile and clapped her hands. "Great job. You two are becoming more self-assured, and Scout is reacting admirably." Liam reached down to scratch. "We're almost there, buddy," behind Scout's ears. That night, when Liam and Scout were walking home, the soft hum of with town as a serene backdrop, Liam considered how far they had come and the closeness between Emma and Tommy. As they turned, they saw that it was times like those between him and Scout that made the difficulties worthwhile. Sarah went out onto the porch onto their street, her face beaming as she saw them. "How was training today?" Liam responded in a casual tone, but he described her voice as warm and full of intense curiosity. "Get to know Scout." Sarah approached them, knelt down to embrace Scout, and asked how our hero was doing. Scout waved his. "He's fantastic, Liam." His tail is frantically leaning into Sarah's palm as she tousled his fur. Sarah looked up at Liam and stated, with a note of pride in his voice, "I don't know how I ever managed without him." Expression of thoughtfulness, "You've changed since Scout entered your life." "You know." Liam tilted his head and inquired, "Have you gained confidence?" She went on to elaborate. "I believe Scout recognizes your willingness to take chances and put yourself out there, which further strengthens his commitment." With a slight smile tugging at his lips, Liam nodded. "He's taught me so much that it seems like he, even when I don't, knows exactly what I need." Over the coming weeks, Liam and with each training session, Scout's bond grew stronger as Claire presented new difficulties, such as Each challenge assessed their ability to navigate a busy cafe and locate specified spots using spoken instructions. One evening, their mutual trust and communication became stronger with each accomplishment. "You know, Scout," Liam murmured softly as he knelt next to Scout and placed his palm lightly on the dog's head as he got ready for bed. "You're more than just a mentor. You're also my friend and partner. I doubt I could accomplish this without you." Scout leaned into Liam's touch, his eyes gleaming with devotion. There was silence for a minute. Comprehension, which is evidence of their unsaid bond, while word of Liam and Scout's development started to. Word got out to Emma and Tommy's parents, who had been deeply impacted by their Market One experience. One day, Liam got a surprise call from a woman who stated, "This is Emma. Getting to know Tommy and Emma. And Tommy's mother. I wanted to express my gratitude one more for your efforts." Emma hasn't stopped discussing Scout, and Liam had a knot in his throat when Tommy told him that you were his hero, and it meant a lot. "Thank you," Scout added. "We'd like to come see you. Emma wants to see you again, and Tommy has a small gift. We would love to come over at any time," Liam said with a smile on his face for Scout. After hanging up, Liam glanced down at Scout, who was observing him with a curious tilt of his head. It appeared as though, "We have fans," Buddy, Liam remarked, laughing. "You're ready to see them again?" Scout gave a short growl, waving his tail as. A few days later, Emma and Tommy, together with their parents Emma, showed up at Liam's house, proving that he was prepared for anything. Scout welcomed them with excitement as Tommy clutched a nicely wrapped surprise and Scout held a modest bunch of wild flowers. He ran to the gate to greet his guests, barking and wagging his tail wildly. Scout Emma cried out in her face. She was beaming as she bent down to give the dog a hug. Tommy hung back a little. "I missed you." Liam's eyes widened in wonder as he observed Scout's animated manner. Sarah and I stood outside the entrance, grinning at the touching scenario. "Come on in," he said. Called for them to come in, and after they did, the kids sat down on the floor next to SC, who appeared to be in fine. Tommy, who was happy to be the focus of attention, carefully opened his present to see a handmade collar with. He looked up at Liam and said, "I made this for him, with colorful beads. Do you think he'll like it?" Liam squatted down, his hand out to touch the collar. "That's lovely. Tommy Scout would adore it." Tommy grinned as Liam assisted him. Scout sat calmly with his ears perked up and his tail wagging as though he knew as the collar was put around his neck. As the afternoon went on, Emma and Tommy's parents expressed their appreciation to Liam, highlighting the gesture's significance. And Sarah, Emma's mother, mentioned that what you've done with Scout is amazing. Liam's response humbled Scout's, the true hero, and inspired our children in ways we never could have dreamed. Scout's capability. He has taught me as much as I have taught him. Later, while the sun was setting, Liam made the decision to take Emma, Tommy, and their parents to the local park for a display of Scout's skills, which the kids were excited to witness. Action. Their enthusiasm evident as they made their way to the open field to scout the bench. Liam gave the order, firmly grasping the leash. Scout instantly reacted, leading Liam across the. When they arrived at the bench after navigating the difficult terrain with precision, Liam looked to the kids and grinned proudly. Emma and Tommy enthusiastically nodded, demonstrating their admiration for Scout. "Could I try giving him a?" Emma tentatively questioned. "Command," and Liam said, "Of course," showing her how to grip the leash and provide unambiguous commands. "Just keep in mind to remain composed and confident." Emma inhaled deeply before saying, "Scout, sit." The dog complied. Emma gave a happy giggle, and Liam gave him a sign of approval right away. Tommy stepped up so I could try Liam, because he didn't want to be left out. Said his support was constant. Tommy issued a similar directive, and Scout obeyed. The boy's face glowed with pride as he walked lawlessly, his shyness giving place to newly discovered confidence as. Emma's mother turned to Liam as they headed home. "Have you ever considered telling your story? What you and?" Liam thought that Scout's unique qualities may inspire a lot of people. I'm not sure if he acknowledged it, but her remarks made the idea both fascinating and intimidating. "I'm not sure whether I'm prepared for that level of attention," but Sarah interrupted, saying, "You've already inspired me with these two." Pointing to Emma and Tommy, perhaps it would be worthwhile to consider that evening as Liam. As he sat in his room, Scout curled up at his feet, because he couldn't stop talking about how it felt to share his experience. Frightening, but he couldn't dispute the effect it might have had on Scout when he noticed Liam's reflective demeanor improved his. Placed it on Liam's lap and scratched his head. "What do you think, buddy Liam? Should we share our experiences with the world behind Scout's ears?" Scout's tail wags in response to his. The following day, with his unflinching support demonstrated in every action, Liam made the decision to go to CLA to talk about the concept when he. CLA's eyes brightened as she described the scenario, and I think it's a great idea. Stated that your relationship with Scout is about more than just conquering obstacles. It's about the connection you've formed, and the people need anecdotes like yours, and Liam was inspired by her words to start making plans on how to. He contacted a nearby community center to share his tale, and they agreed to hold a gathering where he could talk about. The thought of standing in front of a crowd was unsettling for Liam because of his experiences with Scout, but he knew it was vital. Liam stood backstage on the day of the event, since it was a chance he couldn't pass up. As he listened to the audience's conversation, his palms were perspiring. Scout sat quietly next to him, providing stability. Scout barked softly as Liam questioned, his voice quivering a little. "Force you ready, boy." When it was time to take the stage, Liam took a deep breath and kept his eyes fixed, and approached the podium with Scout at his side. As he started speaking, the audience went quiet. He spoke with assurance as he described the difficulties he had encountered following his blindness, including the difficulties of exercising with Scout, and the significant influence the dog had on his life. As he completed his tale, Liam went down to pat Scout's head. "This dog is not only my mentor, but also my best friend, comrade," and the room erupted as the teacher and I learned that when you believe in each other, anything is possible. Into applause, and Liam glanced down at Scout with a sense of satisfaction he had never had before, who joyously wagged his tail after Liam's first public speech, as though to say, "We did it." Once his amazing tale started to circulate, the community center's event generated interest both locally and internationally. People in Meadow Ridge were enthralled with the story of a blind youngster and his amazing guide dog, Scout. Requests to give speeches at school functions and even regional organizations began coming in. Liam had a mix of nerves and excitement as he shared his. Although the experience was fulfilling, it was emotionally taxing, so he turned to Sarah. As they sat in the living room one evening, Scout said, "I never expected this much attention for guidance. It is daunting to be at his feet, but I want to do it for Scout and everyone else. You don't have to take on everything, Liam. Just do what seems right." Sarah put a comforting touch on his arm. "Just like us, meaningful to you. Keep in mind that you are in charge of this story, and you are in charge of her words." Gave Liam clarity. He made the decision to concentrate on activities that would have the biggest influence in locations where his narrative could motivate people who are struggling and start discussions on the value of inclusiveness and guide dogs as Liam. And as Scout was ready to speak at a local elementary school, he couldn't help but experience a wave of. The siblings were overjoyed to see Scout in pride since it was the first time Emma and Tommy would be in the audience. Action once more, particularly after learning of his rising fame, and the school auditorium was a hive of activity as youngsters rushed in, their voices resonating with interest and expectation. Emma and Scout sensed the electricity in the crowd as Tommy sat in the front row, their eyes gleaming with appreciation. Quietly by Liam's side, his harness serving as a reminder of their special alliance when the crowd fell silent as Liam took the microphone. "Good morning, everyone," he said, starting off steadily. "Today, I want to tell you about a person who has transformed my life. He is not only my guide dog, but also my closest friend." Liam told me his story, sincerity and candor as he described how he had come to terms with being blind and how Scout had been his pillar of support. Children listened carefully, and their expressions showed a mixture of emotion and wonder at Scout's involvement. Fascinated them, and the group exploded in laughter when Liam asked Scout to carry out some of his practice chores. Applause. Scout follows Liam's instructions to locate the stairs, showing how the dog led him securely, and the kids marveled as Scout carried out every directive with accuracy. Following the discussion, Liam encouraged the children to ask questions as they gathered around Scout, anxious to meet the hero of the hour. Emma and Tommy answered all of the questions, including how Scout was trained and what it was like to have complete faith in a guide dog. "We're among the first to approach you," and Liam Emma exclaimed, "You're amazing," in a voice full of praise, and Scout. Only the greatest Tommy nodded, his timidity giving way to enthusiasm. Liam, one of the heroes, bent down and found Tommy's shoulder. "You are familiar with Tommy. Local occasion? Without people like you, Scout and I wouldn't have made it this far. You and Emma motivate me just as much." Liam concluded by reflecting on his happiness at witnessing the impact of his narrative. It wasn't only about becoming noticed. It was also about building relationships and encouraging others to have faith in. Liam received an invitation to take part in a regional event shortly after the school visit. The event, which celebrated the relationship between people and animals, included storytelling, competitions, and demonstrations. Reading the invitation, Sarah stated, "This could be huge for us, highlighting the incredible ability of animals like Scout. They want you to tell your story to a wider audience, Liam, and they've asked Scout to demonstrate his abilities aloud." Felt a twinge of concern, because this is a lot larger stage than anything we've done previously. And what if we're not prepared? "You and Scout have gone through so much," Sarah reassured him. "Just be yourself, and everyone will see how." With Sarah's persuasion, Liam consented to take part, demonstrating how unique your friendship is. He worked closely with Scout in the weeks before the event to improve their displays, and the training sessions helped them hone their routine, which strengthened their relationship with Scout's loyalty. And when the day of the event finally arrived, Liam stood backstage with his heart full with intelligence. And as the announcer presented them to the audience, Scout sat next to him, his steadying presence and serene manner. "Now, let's welcome Liam and his amazing guiding dog, Scout." The audience cheered as Liam and Scout. Liam took a deep breath and gripped the microphone as he entered the stage. "Thank you for starting us today. I want to demonstrate to you what is possible when you trust and love." As tenacity come together, Liam led Scout through a sequence of challenges, each more difficult than the one before it. The audience was in amazement of Scout's skills, from overcoming hurdles to obtaining objects. But it wasn't just the tasks, it was the clear bond between Liam and Scout that struck a strong chord with the audience as they concluded there. When Liam spoke from the heart, "Scout has demonstrated to me that there is always a way forward, even in the most difficult circumstances. He's not just my mentor, he's also my partner, my family, and my best instructor." The audience cheers as Liam knelt down to embrace Scout, who was waving his tail. He was overcome with emotion by the tremendous and sincere applause. Fortunately, Liam and Scout's footage of their performance received a lot of attention in the days after the regional event. After his performance went viral on social media, Liam's inbox was inundated with messages from people all around the world. Numerous expressions of thanks and admiration from those who shared their own hardships and found hope in his tale. But a national organization also presented a new obstacle. Liam and Scout were invited to take part in a famous show by trained service dogs. This event would highlight the most talented service animals and their caregivers, demonstrating the close relationship that exists between people and they believe we're prepared for this. Four-legged friends. Liam asked Sarah incredulously, his tone discoloring his voice. "Display?" Sarah firmly stated, "You're ready." Despite his residual nervousness, "You and Scout have repeatedly shown yourselves." After accepting the offer, Liam spent the days before the exhibition preparing diligently, closely with Scout to hone their performance and add components that emphasize Scout's exceptional abilities and their special bond. Liam was surprised with a visit one evening. Tommy held a notebook in his hands as he was excited by Tommy and Emma. Tommy handed him the notebook, saying, "I've been writing something about you and Scout." Liam opened the book. Tommy had written a brief story in Braille about their first encounter with Scout, and his fingers were gliding over it. Liam remarked in an emotional voice, "Thank you. I wanted to say that the journey they had seen was beautiful." "Thank you," Tommy murmured quietly. "I'm not afraid to try new things because of you." Things now. And the touching moment provided Liam all the inspiration he required to understand that this journey wasn't just. The exhibition space was different from others because it was about him and Scout, and everyone they could inspire along the way. Something Liam had never seen before. The enormous arena was a hive of activity with spectators, handlers, and their Amazing service animals. He couldn't help but sense the weight of the situation as Liam and Scout got ready backstage. "Just be yourself," Sarah whispered, gripping his hand. When it was their turn, the announcer's voice reverberated through. "Ladies and gentlemen of the arena, please welcome Liam and his amazing guide dog, Scout." The audience erupted in cheers. The concert started with Scout showing off his guiding dog as Liam and Scout took center stage. Skills guiding Liam through a challenging obstacle course, recognizing items, and even reacting to minute. With each job, the audience's admiration for the hand signals grew. However, a trust exercise that demonstrated their unshakable link was the culmination of their practice. Liam took off Scout's harness, signifying total trust. Scout arrived. Scout hesitated for a brief moment as Liam called gently, noticing the increased tension in the room, and then he trotted across the arena with unshakable confidence, avoiding obstacles and dodging diversions until he arrived at Liam's side, at which point the audience cheered. After the show, with the arena resounding with applause, Liam and Scout went backstage and were met by one of the judges with tearful eyes, came over to Liam, along with other handlers and event planners. "What have you accomplished here is truly remarkable," she adding that you and Scout are proof of the strength of trust and tenacity. Liam nodded, showing that he was grateful for what Scout had taught him, more than I could ever impart to him. At the end of the ceremony, Liam received a special award that embodied the spirit of collaboration, the plaque said, highlighting the inseparable link between people and animals and providing motivation. Liam clasped the plaque between his fingers, inspiring innumerable others to believe in second chances. Tracing the words, he said to Scout, who was waving his tail, "This is for us, buddy." Returning to Meadow Ridge, Liam discovered that life had adopted a new rhythm. His popularity from the exhibition led to opportunities he never would have thought of, including speaking engagements and partnerships with service dog groups. But Liam stayed anchored in spite of the chances. As Liam and Sarah sat on the porch one day, he thought about the relationship he had with Scout and how far they had come. Sarah grinned as he inquired in a hushed voice, "Have you come? Do you think we've done enough?" With pride in her eyes, "Liam, you and Scout have transformed lives beyond this place. However, Scout lies everywhere, and the best part of your journey is yet unfolding." Liam grinned as he raised his head and nuzzled his hand at his feet. He murmured softly, "You're right, we have a lot more to do," as a wave of calm passed over him. Liam sat calmly next to Scout as the sun sank below the horizon, illuminating the world in shades of gold and amber. He could still hear the cheers from the last performance, a symphony of approval and triumph in his fingers. Traced the smooth surface of the medal that hung from his neck, a physical reminder of their amazing. Beside him, Journey Scout was lying with his head on Liam's lap and his tail swishing. Instantly, the boy felt something he hadn't felt since the accident that had taken his life for the first time in a long time. "You see," Liam spoke gently, his voice shaking with emotion, "and I didn't." Scout nuzzled closer to his warm breath. "To save you, Scout. You saved me too." Against Liam's hand like a silent contract, their relationship had grown stronger, which was evidence of the strength of love and trust. The road they had traveled together was more important than the award or the applause. Overcoming suffering, uncertainty, and fear to find their own strength grace. "Liam," she whispered, her voice full of energy as she walked toward them, her steps light but steady. "I've never seen you and Scout so joyful, with love and pride." Amazingly, Liam tilted his face toward her voice and grinned. "We make a good team, don't we?" he murmured, lightly tapping his fingers. Grace crouched next to them, putting her arms around her son in a loving embrace while scratching behind Scout's ears. She said, "You taught me something today. If we're willing, there's always light, even in the darkest times." Liam lay back and felt the bright twilight stretch into a peaceful night with stars starting to pepper the sky. The cold grass below him, Scout's steady breathing was a reassuring sound. His thoughts drifted to the future, where Scout would be by his side, and there would be difficulties, opportunities, and optimism, helping him through it all. Please remember to subscribe, leave a like, and if this story touched you as much as it did us. If you enjoy this story, you'll love the one that's waiting for you. Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Click to view a story about bravery, resiliency, and the enduring relationship between people and animals. And learn about the upcoming unforgettable adventure.